Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today's Kirby Monday, so we're looking at the next issue in his New Gods saga, The Fourth World. I'm going to go right to it because you've seen this cover before. This is, at least for the Forever people, the only issue that I do not have, issue number 1. It's kind of hard to find one. A reader copy at a decent price is what I'm looking for, right? Let me just center that a little bit for you guys. So, starting with probably in the next few reviews, I won't have to rely so much on this mega omnibus, which is great and has the whole kind of story contained within. But I do have a lot of the individual issues that I'd rather be looking at than this for their original versions, right? And the coloring and all that stuff, all those details. That you don't get here. The ads even, I think, are great from those 70s comics. So I want to talk about those a little bit too. So here is Jack Kirby, before introducing the New Gods, actually introduced kind of some of his concepts for the Fourth World we know in Jimmy Olsen, which I started reviewing. And then the next comic was the Forever People. Kind of his version of like superhero hippies, I guess, is what he's kind of depicting here, with some older tropes, because he's still got kind of a cowboy character, which is a little odd within this futuristic kind of super group from another planet, from another world, right? New Genesis, within the mythology of the New God saga. But I have to assume that even in the 70s still, cowboy movies were fairly popular. I think it's after the 70s they kind of died off. So maybe that's why you still get that kind of character. There's something I've heard before about characters. There's this expression, I don't really like how it sounds, but I'll use it anyways. The fact that things can be toys or well suited to being toys. The word is toyetic. I definitely feel like Kirby was ahead of the curve when looking at his designs for a lot of these New Gods characters, is that he would introduce new characters, but also like vehicles that they would ride in. And I definitely see a lot of, when I was a kid, the He-Man toys definitely took a lot of inspiration for stuff like this, I have to assume. And in fact, I know so, because a lot of the design artists who work on He-Man were are definitely Jack Kirby fans, right? If you've watched on Netflix, The Toys That Made Us, it's been out there for a while there. You know this. And if you read, also, I have some of those Masters of the Universe behind the scenes making of, design work, design art book, and they talk about the Kirby influence in there as well. So it's all over toys in the 70s and 80s, right? Star Wars, He-Man, all of that. I don't think you have any of it without Jack Kirby, or at least his influence. Still following the annoying trend of Superman's face being changed, Superman, continuing on from Jimmy Olsen, plays a pretty big part in this first issue. He actually, to me, plays a bigger part than the actual Forever People in it. So boom, that first page introduces the boom tubes, and the Forever People just kind of pop out of it here. We guest starring the immortal Superman, and I mean, they don't even take a Jack Kirby drawing here. What they've done is taken an old school Superman drawing by an old school Superman artist, and even the S on his chest has been changed to kind of the more newer 70s version or redrawn style, but just like plopped on top and stuck on, and not even bent at any kind of angle that would make sense. So it doesn't really look like it's in the middle of his chest. Kind of badly done there. So, I mean, yeah, the Forever People are introduced in a kind of pretty dynamic sequence here. Vehicles, some interesting Kirby concepts we get here is, they're going to crash into this young couple's car, but they phase through it here. The super cycle works like a charm. Our atoms have been reshifted so we can pass through the car like ghosts. Almost kind of like what they do on Star Trek to beam down onto a planet, but just kind of using it locally to avert basically a huge car accident. And of course, they're still kind of mesmerized by the whole thing and stunned, so they drive over the cliff anyways, but are saved with the help of the mother box, right? What is the mother box? Well, we'll start to learn about it, but I think it's kind of Jack Kirby's vision of the future of basically the cell phone, right? Now, I know cell phones can't help cars magnetically from falling into a ravine or something. And again, this is like a 60s, 70s trope that all the movies you've seen of cars just kind of going over the edge of a ravine or a mountain. So, the characters are introduced very quickly, and they're talking about this character, Beautiful Dreamer, in this sequence, who communicates through the cowboy guy. I forget his name, Seraphin. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to say that. But yeah, she's some sort of, telepath or something, and she's going to be communicating with these guys. They're looking for her, right? So when Seraphine wakes, we will know her message, right? He's made contact with Beautiful Dreamer. Then its action will defy Darkseid and all his evil minions to get her back. So apparently, I guess Darkseid has kidnapped Beautiful Dreamer. We've only gotten a couple of glimpses of Darkseid in the last few issues of Jimmy Olsen. And here we see him again, and he's kind of brought into the story with his minions here, kind of spying on the Forever People, the guys who are looking for Beautiful Dreamer. But Darkseid has said not to, take them down or not shoot at them. Some interesting mindless minions we get here. Interesting weird Kirby faces. I like that. Anytime Kirby's doing weird stuff like this, kind of resembles in OMAC, the World Peace something, the organization that created OMAC. They have weird kind of faceless faces. I really like that. Here, this is, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not up on my, 70s pop culture. But, a famous sports figure comes and meets with Clark Kent, right? And thanks for dropping in, Rocky. So is that Rocky Marciano or something? One of those, I'm not up on my boxing either, but that's a name that rings true to me. So maybe that's what Kirby's doing, bringing in a bit of real life personalities into the comic, which we know he's done before and will do again. Again, the horrible Clark Kent faces, Superman faces that are being redrawn. And I got to say, not even consistently, because sometimes from one shot to the other, he doesn't exactly look the same. And I wish they had left the Kirby faces, and just storytelling wise, I really like Kirby's take on Superman. He was doing things that were a little bit different from the typical Superman stuff. So for example, Rocky shakes his hand and he says, "Say, that's quite a grip you've got. Ever been in the ring?" Or, "No, I just eat the right morning cereals." I like that kind of banter. People who say Kirby can't write, this is the kind of stuff I really like. And later on, I'll show you some of the more pompous, florid, hyperbole kind of writing that he does that I also enjoy. Rocky, one question before you leave. Why are you unhappy? Caught that in your notes, did you? But you're the champ. The public loves and respects you. That's just what's bugging me. What have I done that Superman couldn't do better? He can put down an army of title holders. With Superman in the picture, the fight game is a farce. If only I could meet him on his own terms. Yes, I see your viewpoint, Rocky. So that's kind of an interesting thing to bring. What if Superman was real? Fighters would probably not be jealous of him, but have issues with that because, all of a sudden you're not the best, right? Superman could best you, which is an interesting concept that I don't think has really been touched upon in DC Comics before this. And Rocky says, I like this. "No charge, Kent, but keep it off the record. You might hurt the gate receipts." So Superman's kind of left to ponder that, right? And he says, "Do they secretly resent him, fear him, hate him? For the first time in many years, I feel that I'm alone." So this is a concept that was never really, again, touched upon in DC Comics. And Kirby was kind of the first to do that, right? Which later on kind of manifests in the Zack Snyder kind of version of Superman, right? In the movies, people would resent him probably, Lex Luthor does. So it's interesting to see that also, prize fighters would. This whole page kind of just sucks to me because it doesn't feel like a Kirby page, other than maybe the shot and the angle here, because all the faces have been redone and retouched. Jimmy Olsen, Clark Kent as well, and just annoys the hell out of me. And everyone else, I guess, who's a Kirby fan. And this is interesting because Jimmy Olsen got a picture of the Boom Tube, right, from a friend, and Superman uses, again, a clever use of Superman's powers, uses his microscopic vision, or whatever it's called, to look at a tiny microdot, and the infinite center is enlarged by millions, and a fantastic image is revealed. So, Jimmy Olsen's, the pixelation on that picture, that spot is so small, but Superman can pick up on it. At the other end, good Lord, a city, Supertown exists, right? So Superman's starting to wonder if maybe, he belongs there, right? That's kind of the philosophical question that he's asking himself. He's got to find those kids because he wants to go to Supertown. More horribly drawn over Jack Kirby stuff. I feel like they're doing the bodies as well. Like, why would you do that? It's, it makes the art so inconsistent. Some more shots of Darkseid, who, his minions inform Superman is on the trail of the kids, so he's like, he must not interfere. So action starts. They attack Superman as soon as he gets close to the super cycle, right? And to the Forever People. Kind of like this whole sequence here and the coloring of it. I think that kind of works really well. The inking here is quite different, so I have to assume it's, maybe Coletta doing that, or maybe just one of the Superman artists. Again, is this a Man of Steel? Is this where Man of Steel got this idea of Superman throwing, a telephone pole, an electrical pole right at the helicopter? How ridiculous does this classic Superman face look amongst the Kirby faces once again? Ugh. So a gas is emitted, unfortunately, which is dangerous to everyone. Superman creates a tornado. Another fun use of his powers here to get rid of the gas, dissipate the gas, and then boom, the actual acolytes or minions of Darkseid are revealed here, coming out of the ground like demons. It's pretty cool. Again, some interesting faceless minions, right? Will teach you not to defy Darkseid. The most faithful to Darkseid are his Gravigards. It does feel like Kirby's just kind of winging it along the way, and when you see Darkseid, you'll see what I mean, and coming up with concepts and kind of hashing them out over the page, and eventually kind of they become concrete and more kind of specific. But he's just trying stuff out here. We haven't yet seen what will become kind of the typical guard that Darkseid uses, the parademons, right? Seize the young ones. This one has the might to move a mountain, but it shall not avail him. Darkseid chose us well. So they're actually a match for Superman. And Forever People haven't been fleshed out that much, but we do get the conceit of the Forever Peoples as they join together here. Maybe the first example of characters joining together to, I feel like this is... I would have been introduced this kind of idea with Captain Planet, right? So Captain Planet is totally ripping off the Forever People and them conjuring up Infinity Man. When it comes to Infinity Man, I don't mind the concept that they conjure him up. Like I said, kind of to me resonates with that Captain Planet vibe. Something that I watched when I was a kid and I kind of liked. But when Infinity Man shows up, his design is a little bit lackluster. Now, I don't know if it has more to do with the coloring, maybe. The striping, not so great. But the coloring is just way off. Parts of him are skin colored, where I feel like Kirby intended that to be covered up with an actual costume. So he does kind of look like he's running around in his underwear with bare legs, which is never a great look. And color-wise, again, you can tell from the Kirby details and the squiggle on the nose here, that's not the nose, and it shouldn't be flesh-colored. It's actually part of his helmet, right? So there's a lot of miscoloring all throughout the New Gods series. And unfortunately, Infinity Man, first of all, the name's kind of cheesy too, but Infinity Man himself just doesn't hit as well as maybe he should have in this issue when he first appeared, right? Maybe the coloring would have helped, but not one of Kirby's better designs, in my opinion. But we'll get tons of other great designs all throughout the New Gods saga. So yeah, again, he hasn't yet nailed down Darkseid's look here. And the coloring's not helping either because, they're coloring the legs the same as the bare arms here, right? But those are actually pants. So there's a give and take, and eventually Kirby settles into something. But like the boots almost look like cowboy boots. He's got a cape, which he's not going to have later. Kind of wearing underwear over top of those pants, where it will eventually become a mini skirt, which in a weird way I think is a better look and makes him look more regal, I guess is how I'd put it. But you look at this profile here, and I mean that's almost Darth Vader, right? Like almost. It's pretty darn close. I think a lot of inspiration for Darth Vader came from Darkseid. So it's revealed, obviously, that Darkseid had kidnapped Beautiful Dreamer, trying to harness her powers, obviously, for his evil deeds. But Superman flies in, Infinity Man, and it's kind of an odd sequence. So he picks up... let's read it. He's gone. Wait, those tanks beneath the table. Radion bombs. Darkseid's own formula. If we move the girl, the bombs will go off. He meant to destroy us all. This calls for perfect timing. So he grabs Infinity Man because doesn't even want to give him time to think about what he's going to do. The trick is to outspeed the bomb's ignition, and I think I can do it. So Superman at super speed picks them both up and phew, flies out. So Beautiful Dreamer is saved. The Forever People show up. Everyone's happy. And Superman, basically, they tell him about Supertown. And he's like, I want to see it. So he they open up the boom tube for him and they say, just go all the way through. He jumps in, but funny enough, Superman at a certain point chickens out. And it's kind of unfortunate because the effect is kind of lost a little bit storytelling wise with the typical Superman faces. Kirby, more pathos kind of faces or more exaggerated expressionistic faces would have been much better. Unfortunately, that's not what we get. But at least in the writing, we kind of hear it. So this is another interesting concept for Superman. But deep within, Superman feels the sting of apprehension. Does the answer really lie ahead of me? Darkseid and his hidden terrors, the anti-life equation, the danger to mankind. Am I going the wrong way? Is Earth the battleground for some strange super war? So even, you know, a super strong character like Superman can have doubts, right? Which is just an interesting conceit. Superman didn't seem like a very doubtful character up to this point in old like Silver Age Superman comics. He could be as real as the boom tube, and I may be deserting mankind when it needs me most. So kind of anxiety and grief is kind of taking over Superman of all people. I can't go on, I can't. There's a loud thunderclap and Superman finds himself back on Earth. And as the boom tube fades, Superman catches a glimpse of distant gleaming towers, just like he did in the picture. Then like a dream, they too fade and are gone. It was the wrong time to go. Perhaps someday I'll try again, but the time is not now, not yet. And Superman, I'm going to ruin it, will eventually make his way to Supertown, so we'll get to see the results of what he's talking about here. But just in this issue, I think Superman is the most developed character, and Kirby's really throwing some interesting things his way and interesting new concepts to apply to Superman that I haven't seen before. So that's what I take mostly from this issue. It's almost like the Forever people are kind of guest stars in their own first issue. Superman kind of takes center stage, and it's a pretty interesting Superman story overall. There you go, guys. That's my review of Forever People #1. If you're subscribed and you're still watching, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And if you are watching but not subscribed, please do so below. It only takes a quick second for you. Really helps the channel grow, helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books, just like we are. So everyone out there, thanks again for watching this video, and have yourselves an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby. Like!